Hey friends, I wanted to grab a few minutes. I don't really have a lot of time, but I felt like I needed to say this. So I had a bit of a crazy day today. And I'm gonna apologize. The lighting is a little weird right now because the sun is starting to set. But I had such a weird day. So it's Monday, and usually I start my day with a daily card pull. And so my card today was the Seven of Pentacles. And so I drew the card, I did my Monday motivation series, I reflected on it, and like it couldn't have been a more perfect card to start out the week. And so as soon as the week started, shenanigans started, right? My boss started with the usual shenanigans, and I thought to myself, here we go again. And I remembered the card, and I was like, you know what, like, just be patient, go through the motions, eventually everything is gonna pay off, is what I thought to myself. And coincidentally, what I've done is I pulled my Shadowscapes deck, because this is my chatty girlfriend. So I pulled her in with me. this conversation. So I had the craziest day. I took my daughter in for her road test. I was freaking out the whole entire time because I was worried the car was making crazy noises, and I kept having these visions of the person doing the road test saying, yeah, no, we're gonna pause here and you'll have to come back when your car is sounding better, is what I kept worrying in the back of my mind. But of course, that didn't happen. The car behaved for the most part, and she was successful, and she got her license. So here, 9 of Wands. And that was exactly the moment. That was exactly how it felt. Like, it felt like this year has been so tough with kind of taking her under my wing and showing her the ropes and teaching her how to drive. It ended up being a little bit more challenging than when I taught my son how to drive. And so for the longest time, it has felt like that. Like, we've been through so much and we're finally there, and you can almost taste it. And I just felt worried like it wasn't going to happen. But it did. We had our moment. We celebrated. We laughed. We were so happy. And then as I was heading out to the car with her, King of Swords. As I was heading out with her, someone tapped on my window. And that's so funny, King of Swords. I had that moment. All right, I have a young lady in the car with me. I need to be cautious about how I proceed. I know that she's watching, so I want to set an example. But what, and then of course, what if this guy needs something, right? Like, we're in broad daylight, we're at the DMV. Why would he be tapping on the window? Well, I lowered the window and I said something like, can I help you? And he says something about, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And I was just staring like, what? I cannot remember when was the last time that someone was bold and courageous enough to see a person that they liked and just walk right up to them without being influenced by alcohol and say, I think you look great and I would love to get to know you better. And so that's what this guy did. And I smiled. I smiled. Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, it was a Nine of Pentacles moment for me. I was just beaming. My daughter just passed the test. This guy's tapping on my window telling me I look good. And this has never happened to me, or it hasn't happened to me in years. And I'm like, this is amazing. So it was a pretty, so then of all the things, you know what I do? I'm in a rush, right? Because I'm aware of the fact that it's getting late. I have to get back to work. My boss is acting up. The car is making noise. I have to drop off the car, and I'm rushing. Queen of Swords. Yeah, I was rushing and I had to make decisions, and I could not like let my emotions get in the way of this. So I had to be like, all right, thank you for your compliment, and I have to go right now, but I'm happy to take your phone number. That's what I said. I said that in front of my daughter. In front of my daughter, I was like, sure. So he just looks at me. He's stunned. He's stunned. But he gives me his number, and I program it into my phone. And afterwards, I'm driving off with my daughter, and I'm looking at her like, oh my God, what is she thinking about all this, right? So I say to her, do you think that was a little too much? Do you think it was too much for me to, say, sure, hey, thanks for the compliment. Let me get your phone number. And she was like, that's what he wanted. That's exactly what he wanted. He asked you, are you married? And that was true. He did ask that. He did ask that. Strength. Strength. Give me the strength and the courage to recognize what has just happened before my very eyes. Someone was courageous enough to walk up to a woman and say, I think you're attractive. I would love to get to know you better. And I took that the first next step and said, sure, let's exchange phone numbers. And that's what we did. And we texted a little back and forth today. And we had a conversation later in the afternoon after I was done with work. Ooh, that's interesting. Justice. Justice. I need to think on that. I have talked to this man, and he has asked to see me as early as Wednesday. So I have a date. I have a date on Wednesday. I have a date on Wednesday. And I couldn't be more tickled about it. Let's see. And we have the Justice card. And this beautiful angel is perched upon a tree limb. Now she has a very long, I would almost call that a quill. She has a quill in one hand and the scale in the other, and there's just all these beautiful butterflies floating around her. Now her eyes are closed in a meditative state. Let's see. Justice, justice. I'm curious how I can take that in this moment. Balance, harmony, equilibrium. You know, it was kind of like that, right? Because he took that first step, and then I saw his energy and I matched it. And that's not normal behavior for me. But in that moment, I felt like I had to. So I did, right? Balance, harmony, equilibrium, assuming responsibility, weighing all sides of an issue before making a decision. That couldn't be more true. I considered him, I considered myself, I considered what my daughter would be thinking of all this. At the same time, believe it or not, I was in the process of calling my son on the other line to let him know that we were ready for a pickup because we were dropping off the vehicle at the shop. And so I wanted him to know that we were ready to be picked up, you know, from the shop. You know, boys, you have to give them extra time, otherwise they leave you hanging, right? And so in the midst of all of this, I'm kind of weighing all the pros and the cons. So I really want to get into, you know, anything right now. I've taken a break from dating for such a long time, but something about his method, I felt like people don't just do that anymore. And I miss that from my own, and maybe I'm dating myself here, but back in my time, in my day, you know, guys would walk up to you and tell you that, and that's how you exchanged numbers and got to know people, you know. That's how it was done, old school. So I was really happy that he did that, and I feel like I did. I took that into consideration, and I weighed that in my heart, and I'm gonna go for it. That's what I think. I think I'm gonna go for it. So before we part ways, before I have to go pick my daughter up from work to celebrate her beautiful accomplishment of getting her driver's license, I'm going to pull a card. What does Spirit want to share with me in terms of this beautiful exchange that happened today? Final thoughts. Wow. 4 of Wands. I'm telling you what, this deck never disappoints. It just doesn't. 4 of Wands. Harmony. That's what I see. Harmony and balance and stability, things coming to fruition, that, you know, that energy, that magic. It's not, I don't know, I wouldn't call it creativity, but it's definitely that spark, right, that you feel, that kind of motivates you to do the thing that you usually wouldn't do. Everything kind of coming into alignment. That's kind of what I see when I look at this card. So perfect. Anywho, thank you for sitting with me. I was sitting here thinking, soon I have to go pick up my little girl, but I couldn't do that without chatting with you guys and pulling out my chatty Kathy and just kind of seeing what she thought about this whole matter. So thank you so much for entertaining this impromptu, unplanned video. And I don't know, I'll keep you posted.